Welcome everyone of the business of sport. My name is Ahmed Al and as he does every single week, Mr. Rob Biel joins me on the show. Rob, how you going, buddy? How's things?
Doing good. Just getting back from a little bit of travel this week and looking forward to chatting with you. And lots going on in the world of sports, that's for sure.
Absolutely, there's a ton happening, but this week we're doing things a bit differently. We are dialing in on the biggest sporting league in the world as per revenue numbers, the NFL. The NFL has been ranked the most lucrative sporting league in the world. Um, and one of the key drivers of that has been the media rights. I mean, revenue as of last year in media rights alone was $8 billion. This year, it's expected to rise over $12.5 billion. Um, these numbers are unprecedented because it's a league that's just it's played in one country. I mean, if we look at the sporting landscape, you have the Premier League that's played in that's pretty much attracting fan bases from all around the world through players that come from different countries. I mean, teams like Liverpool and Manchester United have over 500 million followers or fans around the world. Yet, the revenue numbers of the league are nowhere near what the NFL's revenue numbers are. So, let's just go through quickly some of the revenue numbers and we'll compare it to some of the others around the world. If we look at the National Football League revenue numbers as of last year, it was $18 billion. Next comes in the Indian Premier League, which is the cricket, $11 billion. Then we have the Major League Baseball, which is quite a surprise actually, 10.3 billion. The NBA comes in after that at 10 billion. The English Premier League comes in at 5.3 billion. The National Hockey League comes in at 4.8 billion. La Liga 4.5, Bundesliga 4.3, Serie A 2.8, UEFA Champions League that's played around all throughout Europe is 2.8 billion. And then FIFA as an entity last year generated 5.77 billion. Now, the key entity that we're looking at here is the NFL, the $18 billion. How are they such a force? And I'm going to give you an opportunity now to sort of reflect on these numbers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first and foremost, uh, the NFL, as you mentioned, is played in the U.S. U.S. is the number one media market. It's the number one, corporate infrastructure market. So obviously, there is the money is here. So and obviously football is the number one sport in the U.S. And consequently, it is in high demand for advertisers, marketers, branders, and it attracts high value investment. Um, Combine the fact that over the last couple years we've had the entry of a couple new media partners with the relationship with Amazon, YouTube, TV coming in, and then obviously you've got the ABC, ESPN, NBC, Fox, and CBS. I mean, so essentially you've got six different media partners that are vying for slices of this pie and are willing to pay premiums for that content. And we're in the third season of a 17th game. An additional game got added, so now there was additional content that drove rates up on the per game deal, and obviously our Super Bowl media rights, kind of going with that playoffs. The collective product, if you will, is the most watched, thus the most valuable piece of sports inventory that's out there in the world. Doesn't mean that on occasion you get a World Cup, every 4 years that the world watches and numbers go through the roof. And yes, you see massive numbers. NFL's doing this every single year. The Super Bowl, the most watched sporting event in the world, every single year. Except in occasions there might be a World Cup year where Messi plays in it and they win it, right? But that's the driver. It's we'll go back to a little bit of real estate's location. It's in the U.S. U.S. is top media, top marketing, top companies. It's where the corporate dollars are. We talked a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago with soccer starting to make its way over here with Copa America and World Cup coming here over the next 4 years, and the infrastructure that the United States has with venues, with hotels and amenities and everything to host an event of that magnitude. If we obviously we know the money's here because the NFL is the perfect example of that. These other sports that are starting to come over, obviously MLS has been here, but the arrival of Messi and other players of that stature going to raise the value of that league. We're seeing other leagues, cricket, your Australian rules football or Australian Football League coming over here to play up in Vegas. I mean, so we're seeing a lot of sports coming over here to take advantage of that marketing dollars, and obviously they're just looking for slivers because the NFL is the first choice of media partners and marketing brands.
Absolutely. And if we look at the fan base percentage in terms of the domestic leagues, the NFL captures 44% of US sports fans, which is a massive number, because that's pretty much half, or just under half. But then, Rob, people will turn around and say to you, "Hang on a second, mate. The Premier League is televised in over 50 countries around the world, and there's TV rights coming from those countries, and so on and so on. Why are their numbers not even close to what the NFL is doing?"
Yeah, well, I mean, in some cases, it's what are those markets? Some of those markets may not be financially the most attractive markets for whatever reason. They may have fans there, and those fans come from, hey, there's a player from our country that's there. But from a business standpoint, how much are businesses in the UK, for example, using the Premier League as the example, how much business are they conducting in South Africa, per se? And you may have a player from South Africa, therefore there's a large viewing contingent, but there's not a large marketing contingent. The exception is, hey, you may have a Chinese or a Japanese player, or Asian player. Japan and China, have different rules on how media and marketing is in those countries. Certainly, China, restricted on what you can and can't do. So at the end of the day, the U.S. is the purest form of advertising, marketing. It's the richest, and that combination, just leads to it being the most valuable. And you're seeing the numbers that you mentioned. Yeah, you would think that the Premier League would be a little bit higher than it is.
Absolutely.
But for whatever reason, as if you get outside the UK and get into some other countries, and I think part of it is that it's one of 5 major soccer leagues that it's competing against. So if you took away Champions League money, and you took away La Liga money, and you took away Serie A money and Bundesliga money, I think that collective soccer league dollars, Premier Leagues, it's more than the 18 million. But there's really one professional football league here in the U.S. There's a spring league. It doesn't compete with the NFL. I mean, the NFL's football competition, if you will, is college football, and that's obviously a different level and a different game in itself. But when you're talking about the Premier League being the top of the major five, soccer leagues globally or football leagues, um, it's the top. It's competition in its space as a premier, professional soccer league. you know they have a lot more competition out there, certainly by country, than we do. There is no other country playing NFL level football anywhere around the world, so there is no competition, frankly.
You mentioned earlier that the NFL added an extra game, and with the additional game, there's been extra viewership, and the numbers continue to rise. 8 years ago, Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, said, and I'm quoting him, the NFL is greedy. And he broke it down on this. He goes, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. So he's pretty much saying that the end of the NFL's dominance was going to happen 8 years ago. He was saying it's only a matter of time. And from there, what we've seen is the complete opposite. They've gone from strength to strength to strength. Now, if we look at the actual media market itself, right, and what the NFL's done in its time to really build their TV presence and their TV numbers. So let's look at some of the decisions they've done to make their games some of the most valuable properties in entertainment. Number one, it made all of its games available on free over-the-air broadcast TV in local markets. Brilliant move. We've seen some NBA teams now new owners come back and do the same, and one in your homeland in the Phoenix Suns. And they even stayed free when it expanded to cable, Sunday Night Football on ESPN, TNT in the late 80s and 90s. So all the way through that local TV local free TV market has been a focus. Then it shifted its season opening game to the Thursday night in 2002. This created like a 5-day NFL kickoff weekend. So from Thursday all the way to Monday, you're occupied with NFL, right? So you pretty much, those 4 or 5 days, they dominate your life because you're hearing about NFL. Then in 2003, it launched the NFL Network. Coverage of everything from combines to training camps, behind the scenes, stories, the content that people love. Then in 2006, it launched 2 new primetime franchises, which is what we know now as Sunday Night Football on NBC and Thursday Night Football on NFL Network, which is now on Amazon Prime. The Sunday Night Football became the marquee game, and he enabled the NFL to introduce flexible scheduling. So as you go on into the year, you can match up teams better based on their performance. You're not fixed because, as you know, as the year goes on, teams drop off and teams go up. So you want constantly to have the best playing the most exciting games in those marquee slots. Many people complain about the Thursday night fixture, but what the Thursday night fixture does is it takes up the TV space and it tunes in 11 million people, 12 million people, 30 million people, eliminates its competitors, right? And that's what many people overlook. And then if you look at the top 50 most broadcasted TV segments, the NFL has about 45 in the top 50 exist, and the top 10 is pretty much theirs. So look at these moves over time. We've seen them introduce this, introduce that, introduce this. So for 17 weeks of the year, you have 4 or 5 days of absolute overload, 3 screens, 4 screens, sports betting. The wife knows on Sunday it's out of bounds. Husband's not going to be around. He's out of order.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. I'll give you some Rick's comment.
Well, again, you made the exact point is that once the NFL now the NFL has done an excellent job of dominating the annual calendar. Training camp starts in July, preseason games start in August. We have a Hall of Fame game that kind of kicks things off. We get through the preseason, then we have the 5-day kickoff weekend over Labor Day. Thursday night football. Then you've got the games on Sunday. Then you got the Monday night football. In some cases, you have two games on Monday night. Those first couple weeks of the season, and then bang, you've got football every weekend from September all the way through the end of January, and then obviously we get to our NFC and AFC championship game. We move into the Super Bowl 2 weeks later. In between, we've got the Pro Bowl. Immediately after the Super Bowl ends, you get into March, and you're talking about combines, the NFL combine. Then you've got draft coming up, and you got mini camps. Then you go into OTAs, and all of a sudden here we are again in July, and we're back in camp again. There is an NFL product in every single month of the year, and to your point, when they're in season, they're controlling the airwaves Thursday night, Sunday, and Monday. I mean, they graciously get out of the way for a Friday night and Saturday night for college football and high school football. But there are numerous platforms, talk shows, breakdown shows, fantasy shows, betting shows, etc., that are all circled around what's happening in the NFL. What's the spread? Who's healthy? Who's in? Who's out? Who's on the injured list? Who's getting traded? We got trade deadlines coming up. We got guys coming off PUP lists and going on to IR. All these kinds of things that change the dynamics on a week-to-week basis. As to your point, the content is endless, and the NFL gives you something to talk about every single week. And even when you're watching college football, hey, where's that guy projecting the draft? Hey, that guy got hurt. Should he sit out and protect his draft position? Or hey, that guy's a sophomore. He could go pro now. Just whatever the conversation is. Or hey, it's a bye week, and there's a guy that played Thursday night that's at his alma mater's game on Saturday on the sidelines, and they're talking about NFL connection to the school. I mean, whatever it is, NFL. Anytime there's football being played, it's part of the commentary. So it is the ultimate. It's not takeover league, but I mean it's the ultimate dominant topic in its sport. And so whenever something is being televised related to football, the NFL, those three letters, something related to it, professional, playing at the next level, mentioning its franchises, connection to ownership, whatever it is, somehow the NFL gets its brand, its market, certainly franchises, find its way into the vernacular of day-to-day commentary of the sport of football, and that is unique to them because soccer, you talk Bundesliga or La Liga or EPL or Serie A, when you're even now MLS, gets into a conversation when talking about top professional leagues in soccer. There is one when it comes to football, and when you have that type of dominance and that focus and actually that much attention directed towards your product, the result is what we opened this this conversation with tonight, and $18 billion in revenue. That is almost double. It's the second best league in the world, and I bet you're going to win a few beers in a sports bar, my friend, if you went into a sports bar and said, if the NFL is the number one revenue generating sport in the world, what's second? And I guarantee you will drink free all night, because no one in a sports bar in America is going to tell you it's cricket. my friend. You know that, and I know that. But
Yeah,
you're going to get a lot
sure.
of soccer, maybe some Formula One conversation. You might get baseball because of how many games is played. The Premier League in India is massive, and so that's gonna for those of you out there looking for a trivia question to win yourself a free beer every once in a while, that's a good one.
For sure. So let's look at what else is happening. Like over the years, these have been the innovations and changes that they've introduced to inject revenue into the sport to create these marquee moments, these marquee, sorry, slots every single week. If you're not watching on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday, you're talking about it Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's literally what happens from the fantasy sports to the betting to the outings to the takeovers. It's all happening now. We're seeing a focus in international expansion. There's been this year 2 games in at Tottenham Stadium in London. They've been during the peak of the Premier League season. Sold out games, both of them. Sold out. Looking to add more games. Goodell's even talking about a potential Super Bowl in London, right? So we're designating markets to Germany, with teams to Germany, teams to Australia, teams to London. Now is the time where the NFL looks like is really focusing on the international market. And to top it all off, to really grow the game, in the LA 2028 Olympics, there's flag football. And they're encouraging NFL players to look to participate, to represent America. Now, what that does is that you have a sport now that's going to be recognized and played in front of the whole world, the Olympics. And it's going to go from strength to strength to strength. And it's more people are going to discover the game, and it's going to continuously grow. So, in the next 20 to 30 years, will we see a NFL World Cup? We might. We might, because that would be a huge, huge achievement. Even though many fans say, no, 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 this is the American game. It's here. This is its homeland. But there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, of having this other tournament that has international engagement and added revenue to bolster the game around the world and do a better job than FIFA.
Well, it'll be interesting. Obviously, I think the talent level around the world needs to elevate significantly before something like that takes place. What I could see is maybe not an NFL World Cup, but I could see a global football cup where teams out of the spring league compete. Canadian, not Canadian because they have a different set of rules, but I could see what will be this USFL, USL league, new merged league with the USFL and the XFL as that emerges into hey, the champion of that league plays the champion of ELF in a World Bowl in London kind of thing. I don't think that the NFL is going to play down, if you will. As much as we love the Wrexham story and the FA Cup, teams out of the National League or the First Division playing Premier League teams and beating them, that's awesome. The NFL is not going to put themselves in that position. The 49ers aren't going to go over and play, the Rhine Fire. Not going to happen. No way. Not in your lifetime or mine, but you certainly could see, the San Antonio Brahmas go over there as the champions of the NFL or the XFL and go play, the Berlin Rhine Fire in a World Bowl in Paris. An international city to grow the game, because ultimately that's one of the things that the NFL wants to see, and their push is flag football in that realm. Flag football to them is to how to get the rest of the world excited and involved in this game at a younger age. They're looking for them to understand the fundamentals, the throwing, the catching, the defense of it, and avoid the contact portion of it for a significant part until at some point in your teens, you want to, go to an NFL academy in Europe, or you end up over in some of the, domestic leagues that have youth programs that, use that to build up players to get into their respective teams, in the Polish league, the German league, the Spanish leagues, etc. And, I could see that. So, and you alluded to, the addition of flag football into the Olympics, and yeah, it will be a great showcase of that game. Um, I can't see a lot of NFL teams approving any one of their high level players competing in the Olympics without without significant convincing, but. I think that you could see some professional players. Look, I'd love to see college guys do it, but college is not, college guys are making as much as pros now. So it'll be curious to kind of see what the parameters are, because around the rest of the world, the members of their flag football organizations are intramural players at best over here. So no doubt that the U.S. league will. And there's a professional flag football league over here. So there's actually, guys that are playing that game professionally, and it's a totally different strategic game than the NFL. There is no, off tackle, tush pushes and things like that in flag football. It's all, up tempo, 5-on-5, 7-on-7s. You hear about those a lot. You know, Technically less contact, but it's pretty damn physical if you watch any of those games. There's a lot of collisions, a lot of great athletes making great plays. So it'll be quite interesting to see kind of what that growth looks like. But the NFL is always going to keep NFL teams playing NFL teams. They're going to go over to Europe and they're going to play an NFL game. They're not going to play an exhibition game. They feel obligated at this point, given the money that they're generating and the terms that they're asking for those media rights in those countries. When they come over there, they're giving them NFL football. They're not giving them a league that is endorsed by the NFL. They're bringing over their product, their brand, and their teams to play in front of those fans. And as you've alluded to as well, what did Germany sell out in 15 minutes, for their game?
Yeah.
The three games that were played in London this year, one that was actually a home game for the Jaguars at Wembley, which they do every year, and then the two games that were played at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Those games sold out, easily, high demand, not only for domestics there in the UK, but obviously very big for international fans, coming over from Paris and Central Europe, and again, even my son's coach in Poland, was there for this last weekend. The Ravens are his favorite team. So again, it's one of those things where the NFL has been very calculated, very shrewd, very protective of their product and their brand, but they are certainly maximizing the revenue opportunities when they come to Europe, when they play internationally. I'm excited to see what they do when they come down to your neck of the woods and play it down under here in the future. I think to the point of the thought of a Super Bowl anywhere but in the U.S., the biggest challenge is going to be the time zone.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do a game in London, it's got to be the timing in order for it to be prime time here is 8 hours, 9 hours, well, 7 hours depending on if it's an East Coast game versus you want it prime time. They like to have that thing kick off at 7 o'clock on a Sunday night. That's middle. That's what 1 a.m., 2 a.m. In the UK. they're playing those games in the evening now, and it's a 8 a.m., 9 a.m. game on the East Coast. That's not Super Bowl Sunday. So you got to think of, what are they going to do with that? There's no doubt that it would sell out and still be hugely successful. And I'm not saying it's out of the realm that they don't do it. But I don't know if it's something that you go, hey, every 5 years we're going over to London or we're going to Paris or to play this game, because at some level, the NFL likes playing in their stadiums, and and they obviously utilize the Super Bowl as a huge carrot to get new stadiums built, in the past, and certainly will do so in the future.
Absolutely. What are your predictions of what will happen moving forward?
Well, with the NFL, I mean, I think I think you'll continue to see the growth of the game internationally. Through the NFL support of flag, through their support of bringing real games to the fans. I mean, I think you'll probably see we've got another one in Europe this year. We're talking about Australia. You could see maybe another German city or another international city. Do they do something in Milan? Do they do something in Paris? Now that those cities have professional teams in the American League of Football, so I think you'll continue to see that. I believe that you'll continue to see the values of franchises to go up. I think you'll see, the development of talent much, streamlined with the new league, the new spring league. I think you'll see, a name change in Washington. I think the Commander's name will go away eventually. I think that you will. But what you will see is continued growth of the game. I am hoping that we get back to more football, less of this protect the quarterback and players at all costs. I mean, I think obviously it's a violent game. It's collisions happen and hits happen. We've seen way too much discrepancy in officiating the last couple of weeks that have critical, football plays, to a purist like me, roughing the passer, missed fumbles, things like that. I think we'll see the advent of more technology involved in certainly those types of plays. I think, and that goes for any sport. I think you're going to see technology playing a much bigger role in all of sport moving forward. But as the NFL goes, I mean, we're going to see their rights fees go up. Do we see some sort of? I don't think we can have an in-season tournament like you do with FA Cup and Champions League and things like that. But I would love to see that World Bowl type of thought process happen with take an NCAA champion, take an XFL champion, take the champion of one, a champion of FCS, old Division I AA, and then take an ELF champion and go have them play in a little, like you said, a little World Cup, semifinals, third place game, in Europe. I mean, that could be fun. That could be a great experience for those teams and those players. The only challenge is you got, the college football season is in the fall and the international football season is in the spring. So I mean that's why that XFL champion versus a champion of the of ELF would be a fun game to watch. On a global scale, because it's kind of the best of Europe. Obviously, a lot of imports and American players are playing over there. But it would be kind of an interesting, matchup to see kind of what a spring professional league does as a champion and against a European champion.
Absolutely.
Hey, maybe that's our idea, my friend. We'll set that up and sell it. We'll sell the World Bowl. See if we
Why
can get
not?
them to go sign off.
Absolutely. Awesome idea. Well, there you go. I mean, it's been good to sort of dig in and have a look at, the different aspects of what led to this behemoth being built on the scale it has been built on. It's very, very interesting. I mean, some of the numbers that I came across, like let's say for example, NFL fans, they consumed 370 billion total minutes of content in 2021. A billion, not million, billion. It's ridiculous. The Sunday Night Football reigned as primetime's number one TV show for record 11th straight year. Like, where do you hear of that? I mean, even Donald Trump's apprentice didn't achieve that.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is dominance, that hasn't been seen in decades.
yeah,
This is literally there the when it comes to professional sports leagues, um, everybody else is playing for second when it comes to this.
well,
And we haven't touched on it. And I know there are folks out there that are tired of hearing about it, but we talk about the numbers will continue to go up, and I think they will, just because the product is always intriguing and exciting, and they're the best players in the world. But we have a whole new dynamic that's entering into the NFL this year, and it's uh, you know, due to an off the field relationship that's brought one of the more, powerful, people moving, influential groups in the world, the Swifties, into the NFL with Taylor Swift dating, Travis Kelsey, and now you've got that group now getting involved, as fans, or just as content consumers, because Taylor's involved, right? We saw that impact when Lionel Messi came to the MLS. Just the immediate impact of Inter Miami going from 1 million followers to boom 5 million, like immediately. We saw Lionel Messi text out, or post on his Instagram, "Here's how you sign up for MLS, the MLS plan," and boom, they go from 400 to 1.2 million. I mean, like that. So the power of an individual, the power of a group, has now entered into the NFL. And so we talk about spikes. That's a spike that's going to hit this year. Hey, if they're not dating next year, maybe you see that. You see a decrease for the first time. But it's something to watch, just from a branding and a marketing standpoint. What will that influence? And we talked about that a couple episodes ago. Just the spike on Kelsey's jersey sales, and interest in the Kansas City Chiefs in general, and viewership of the Sunday night game when they played, the Thursday night game when they played, whatever. And all of a sudden, you've got a whole, you've tossed gasoline on a raging fire, if you will, just given the power that she has as an artist. And obviously, her fan base is extremely loyal. So it's interesting. And it's some people want to brush it off as it shouldn't count, but I can guarantee you this: the NFL's cashing in on it. There's no doubt in my mind she is going to be performing at the halftime show in Vegas. Book it, done, guaranteed. She's going to be there. She's either singing the anthem or doing the halftime show, but she's performing, because they are going to lap up that genre, if you will, that's now very interested in the NFL, and probably wasn't at one point. And we're gonna see, and hopefully what we continue to see is the top teams playing. We're playing in Vegas this year. It's gonna be a blast. I don't think a Super Bowl will ever be the same after Vegas. It is going to be off the chain and off the hooks. And again, it's been in some fun towns here like Phoenix, and obviously they go to New Orleans, but Vegas is going to be a whole new level. So this is an exciting year for the league. coming off a fantastic Super Bowl, got great teams, got great stories, got new ownership, got new coaches. You got top developing talent. You got storylines across the country, and then you just sprinkle some Swifty magic on the top of that, my friend, and you've got a recipe for, as to quote the great wide receiver Randy Moss, you got straight cash, homie. You got straight cash coming.
There you go. Interesting way to end it. This brings us to the end, unfortunately, but we have to wrap things up. Awesome show, lots of insight, lots of nuggets. What a league! I think we will continue to observe the dominance of this league, as right now it is the foundation and pillar of all live TV. Without live sport, there is no live TV, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you that, because in all the other segments, they are absolutely struggling. But that's a different conversation for another day. Before we wrap things up, I'd like to give you some parting words.
Yeah, I mean, just parting words is we've got got a lot going on in our world, and certainly sports is a great diversion for us all. But let's just all think about those moments that we get to enjoy our teams, enjoy our moment. I just got a chance to go watch my son play. Those are special moments, and there's others around the world right now that that's the last thing they can think about. So cherish the moments that we have. If you can, help those that are in need. Whether it's a neighbor, whether it's a family member, or it could be a friend in another part of the world. These are the times where we as humans, got to think about each other and not as much about ourselves. But sports is a great way, and we're seeing the the unification of our industry. Reaching out and wanting to help people around the world, and try to where we can give them a moment away from the difficulties that they're facing. And I know a lot of us have friends and family and clients and colleagues in the middle of conflicts all over the world. So I just want to remind us all that we're blessed to be able to do what we do, and when we can, let's not forget that there are people out there that are dealing with a lot worse stuff. And so if our team lost yesterday, or I didn't win a bet, or I'm pissed off at what the coach called on third down, these are real small things in the bigger scheme. And let's try to keep that in perspective, and let's do the best that we can to make our entire world one that can enjoy sport all the time.
First world problems, they call them. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll catch you all next week on the Business of Sport. Take care, everyone. Be safe.
All right.
See you later. Goodbye.